The top 14 is back. Yes, it feels like it's been ages since we had top 14 fixtures. It was 3 weeks ago, the last round. Just a quick reminder of what the table looks like after that break and the last set of results, which kind of did put teams going in a certain direction. That round was partly affected by international call-ups, but it was still outside the international window. So we still had Argentinians, Italians, Georgians, Fijians, Scots. But this round is a genuine doublon, which is what the French call it during the international windows. There are going to be a lot of players missing from a lot of squads. And these weekends can make all the difference come the end of the season. It brings certain teams into it. It really punishes other teams. Plenty of the action is live on Premier Sports this week as well. So you've got Toulon v Bion, which is on TV. Cass v La Rochelle, which is on TV. Vannes v Bordeaux is streaming only. And the Paris Derby on Sunday night is also on Premier Sports TV. But let's start with that first game, that Toulon v Bion. Bion were absolutely flying before the break. They just edged out Toulouse at home in their last game, which is pretty impressive. Made it 3 wins from 4. And the Doublons, they do pretty okay out of it. They keep a lot of their Argentinians, so Facundo Bosch, Lucas Paulos, Rodrigo Bruni, they're really key players for Bion and bringing that physicality around the park and that grunt in the mauls and in the scrum and at the line out, just really good technicians as well there. They do lose Tavita Tatafu, tight head prop, who is now injured as well. He's kind of not started every game, so that's not a huge loss for them. But they do also lose Luke Taggy, who's their other key tight head. So maybe it is quite a big loss for Bion. They also lose Sorely Mangala, who is top try scorer in the top 14 this season. He has been absolutely instrumental, not just scoring those tries, but so good in defence, winning turnovers. They do keep their playmakers, which is pretty key in kind of whether it's going to be Lopez or Sagons, but also Machino at 9. Similarly, Toulon they got Baptiste Serran. He'll be released from the France squad. They'll have one of Dan Bigger or Enzo Hervé, so they've got pretty good halfbacks. They also keep a load of their English players because they've got quite a lot of English players now. And they're kind of stalwarts of the pack this season. Lewis Ludlam, Dave Ribbons captain. Carl Sinclair's been really good. They are missing Olivon. They are missing Juta Wanakolo. 2 players have been brilliant. Gabin Villiers is such a solid performer. Ben White, really good player, but is second fiddle to Serran. Anyway, Toulon are unbeaten at home. I really rate their fringe players too. So anyone that's where they are missing a few players, I don't think they'll miss them that much. I'm going to go for Toulon. Rich is going for the Bion mega run to continue. Lyon v Clermont. Now this is an interesting game. Clermont bounced back from a poor defeat away at Stade Francais to beat UBB at home, but their away form has rightly been really, really criticised. They are pointless away from home. They've also only scored 43 points in their 4 away games. No wonder they are not getting defensive bonus points and not getting wins away from home. They don't lose many for the autumn internationals. They lose Bautista Delguy, who'll be playing against France on Friday night, and Regis Montagne, I think, is staying behind as a reserve for the France squad. Lyon historically very good at home, so you'd think this was a pretty straightforward one. However, they are missing quite a lot of players for the internationals. They lose Guillard, who was brilliant off the bench for France last week. Leo Burdo stays with the squad as well because Mathieu Jalibert doesn't want to. But they also lose Martin Pagerello and Monte Ioane to Italy. Niniashvili, Semi Randraja, who would be banned anyway. Sam Matavesi to Fiji as well. But the relationship between Burdo, Ioane and Niniashvili is electric at times, especially at home. So for them to have none of those 3 is actually pretty key. And they also miss a bit of heft, a bit of grunt. But they will be encouraged by Clermont's away form and the fact they can't score points because Lyon themselves have conceded a lot of points at home this season. So the fact that when they are slightly weakened, they are coming up against a team who don't score any points away from home they should be pretty good for this one to get the win. Castres v Stade. Castres are 5 wins from 5 at home. They've generally been pretty good in their away games. They miss basically nobody from their squad. Like Arata isn't in the Uruguay squad. They don't have any French international players. I think Barlow's coming back to a squad with Lamotte staying with the France squad. La Rochelle, by comparison, are absolutely decimated. No Antonio, no Skelton, no Wardy, no Aldrit, no Colomb, Sclavy. So they're missing 3 tight heads. Contelia, they're missing the Georgian missing a loose head. Bugarit's injured. So they're missing so much bulk in that tight 5. It's ridiculous, especially that front row. And their last 2 away games, they weren't great. They were nilled by Montpellier in the pissing rain. They were hammered in San Sebastian by Bion. They do still have lots of very good players. Tuarco Barlow is outstanding. Doublons is such a key player for them. Hastoy, their first choice fly half. Teddy Thomas has been brilliant. Dylan Lades is linking up really well with the rest of that back line. But they're all backs, and I just don't, against a Castres side that is so strong up front, so strong in the scrum, really good at line out time. And La Rochelle's line out has been nothing short of shambolic this season. So it just feels like, famous last words, but this should be pretty easy for Castres. I don't think they're going to run away with it, but I don't think La Rochelle are going to threaten them at all. Montpellier v Pau, interesting one. Both teams kind of towards the bottom of the league. Montpellier not missing loads of players, which does feel weird given that they've kind of always gone for this kind of Galacticos type policy. They miss Reinach, who's with South Africa. Stuart Hogg, he's injured, and also I don't think he'd be playing as well because of his trial. Pau come into it missing some players, which is quite rare for Pau. So Gaetan is in the France squad. Atisogbe, assume, is still injured. Gorgadze is still injured. Calais is playing against France for Argentina. Zabalza is probably going to play for Spain this weekend. So they're missing a couple of props and their 2 best outside backs. They've got the 4th worst away record against Montpellier, who have the 2nd worst home record. So bit of glimmer of light for Pau there. The halfbacks have just been all over the shop. I think it's 6 different combinations from 9 games from Montpellier. But we should see a repeat of last time. Famous last words. Lauren's the medical joker / replacement for short-term deal for Reinach, and Thomas Vincent at 10. We're talking to Hugo and Alaric in the bar on Sunday in Paris, a Toulouse fan and a Bordeaux fan. And none of us could really come up with a solution for their halfback combo, whereas Pau do have their halfbacks. They will have Joe Simmons at MBE. You'd imagine he'll play, and they'll have both of them in the squad, but Thibaut Dabagna and Dan Robson will play. Having said that, though, just the Pau away record and the fact they are missing a few players, we are both going for Montpellier in that one. Toulouse v UASP is another interesting one. Toulouse really do lose a lot of players in this round. So it's a big difference to the last set of Doublons because they had Italians, Argentinians, Scots. So they had 3 of their international fullbacks available, and one of them can play 10 and one of them can play wing. This time round, all 4 of their international fullbacks are missing, which means they're kind of short at 10 because their options at 10 are Entamac, who's injured, Dupont, who's with France, Ramos, who's with France, Malia, who's with Argentina, Kinghorn, who's with Scotland. So they've got 5 players that could play, who are internationals that could play 10, and none of them are available. Historically, Baptiste Germain would have covered 10 as well, but he's moved to Bion. LP, really young player, played a couple of games last season. It's been interesting to see that side, but they also miss a lot of bulk up front. So Malvaca, Marchand, Miafu, Flamand, Cross, Rumat, some brilliant players not to be available. But they're always going to be formidable because they've still got some really good players in that squad. Brennan, they've got any team with Jack Willis is going to be hard to beat. But USAP also it's an away game for them, which doesn't help. They also come missing a couple of players. So Ruiz, really dynamic hooker. Oviedo, their key man. He's such a big ball carrier for them. Tommy Allen, goal kicker. All pretty key players, but They've got Victor Mongiard, a young player who they've come through the academy that they're big fans of at hooker to replace Ruiz. Antoine Ocaña, Aurillac French Finn Russell. He'll kick the goals, which he has done for quite a big chunk of this season anyway. But Oviedo is the man that they're really going to miss, especially with Pasolo Tuilangi injured. They kind of really lack that physical ball-carrying threat. Both teams heavily disrupted then, but we are both going for Toulouse to grind one out at Ernest Vallon. UBB versus Vannes, the biggest losers of the whole Mathieu Jalibert saga, because we can call it a saga, is probably Vannes, because it means that he is available to play for UBB against them. UBB do also have Mathieu and Bocheton coming back from the France squad. They will miss Louis Bielbarré, Yoram Mofana and Marco Gazzotti. Understand that Maxime Lucu and Maxime Lamotte will be staying with the France squad as reservistes. And even though there's a bit of controversy, even though the game is on a Friday night, 24 hours before the UBB play in Vannes, they will not be released. So that means there is a bit more disruption there. And they've also missed a few other players from the other international sides. So Tavitas Tafu, number 8, is with Japan. Guido Petty's with Argentina. Big Ben Tameifuna lines up against Georgia this weekend. So there's a lot of players missing, but they've got such a deep squad now. For Vannes, Gorison and Pedemonte are with the Argentina squad, but they're not in the matchday 23. So that, I don't know whether they're going to be available. I feel like in those sorts of international squads, don't release their players back. And they are such key players for them. Rich is going for UBB. He reckons they've got enough class. Despite the players missing, they've still got enough players fit and available who are very good. UBB's away record is actually the 4th best in the league, but they've only got 1 win. So that shows some of the away form of the rest of the league. Remarkably, their 1 win was Toulouse, but they have also lost to La Rochelle, okay, fair enough, but Clermont and Lyon, 2 teams that haven't been that brilliant this season. But those are the 3 games they've lost at, are the 3 of the real fortresses in the top 14. Will the Rabin be similar? Somewhere that Vannes are really trying to make an absolute fortress? I reckon so. So I'm backing Vannes to edge this one. That could be a belter of a game. And then finally, the Sunday evening treat is the Paris derby. I've managed to come back from Paris. I'm not there this weekend. And where are we at with these two? Stade do still sit in 13th after their really poor start to the season, even though they've had a bit of an uptick last couple of weeks. Racing showed a little bit of form before the break. That win away at Po was pretty impressive, but they did have Tuisova, they had Faz, they had Will Rowland, so they'll miss all of those guys. Their other key players are unavailable, so Roman Talfafanu is injured, Ficou obviously playing for France, and Nolan Le Garrec also with France, and he is their key player. He is their man. He makes so much happen for them. He's also been kicking goals this season. Stade lose a couple. Gomez Cadell has been brilliant at tight head since he came back from injury. Other than that, they kind of cover the rest of the losses. So Nicotera at hooker hasn't always started. Dakawanga, they've got lots of options on the wing, even though they lose Rafael Costa Storti. Barry at 15, they can cover with like a Joe Jonas, hopefully. They've had a bit more time together as a squad during this break, you'd imagine. And one area they've really struggled is the cohesion. With a load of signings and all the chopping and changing in the coaching staff. Maybe a few weeks of that coaching staff getting into rhythm might help. Racing just lose too many players. It's easy to forget how crap they've been in some of the away games this season as well. But they just miss so many players and Stade don't. So we're going for Stade to win that one. I've gone for all home wins. It feels possibly even more likely for me during the Doublons. The away sides get even weaker because of players missing. Rich has got a couple of away wins. He loves to stick his neck on the line and go for a bold shout. Bordeaux definitely feels like a toss-up. That game could go either way. Genuinely really quite hard to call that one. And it's going to be streamed on Premier Sports Online and on the app. Some great games on TV. Another fascinating round. It's going to be interesting to see what the table looks like after this one. Get in touch. Let us know what you think. What have we got wrong? What do you think we need to know about? Who's gonna come out of this weekend? Well, let us know.